Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. We'll start off with the prayers. Prayers to give voice to our aspiration for enlightenment and so on. So starting on page 19, prayers to Shakyamuni Buddha. Ampa chandindi dvijin jepa tatyampa yantapa sope sanji vipa da jatsu dampa dewa jepa jiten timpa jebu dewi telu dewa nana mepa nada minanti tampa sanje chandindi Dewa Shakya Thubten Loden Chada Tetsu Jivo. Teacher, Bhagawan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly pure and complete Buddha, all-knowing, having poise, Sugata, apprehender of the world, navigator of beings to be subdued, incomparable, teacher of gods and humans, to the Buddha, the Bhagawan, the glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, we prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. Sangha, I go for refuge until becoming enlightened, through the merit of my generosity and so on. May I achieve Buddhahood to benefit all beings. To the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I go for refuge until becoming enlightened, through the merit of my generosity and so on. May I achieve Buddhahood to benefit all beings. Anointed with perfume and strewn with flowers, Mount Meru, the four continents, adorned with sun and moon, imagined as a Buddha land and offered thus, may all beings enjoy such pure lands. I prostrate my three doors with a mind of respect, and offer all actually arranged and mentally emanated offerings. I reveal all the downfalls and negativities that I have ever collected, and rejoice in the virtues of individuals and superiors. These remain perfectly abiding until samsara is no longer seen. I request you to turn the vast and profound wheels of Dharma. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. The prayer of the lineage of gurus. Body born from 1,000,000 magnificent excellent virtues, speech fulfilling the hopes of infinite beings, a mind that sees all objects of knowledge precisely, I bow my head to the chief among the Shakyas, supreme sons of the incomparable teacher, carrying the load of all the conqueror's deeds, by their emanations appearing in countless realms, I prostrate to Maitreya and Manjushri. A mother of conquerors is difficult to fathom. A precise thought is in commentaries written by Jambavika's Ornaments, Nagarjuna and Asanga. I prostrate at the feet of those most renowned in the three realms. From these two great chariots come the excellent lineages of the paths of profound view and vast ease. Their essential points gathered thoroughly and without fault. Prostration to the lamp holding this treasury of instruction. Giving explanation through compassion, by seeing precisely and completely the essential points of all paths of Sutra and Tantra. Holder of the Conqueror's entire holy Dharma, prostrations to the glorious Swasamgapa. I have seen all the infinite teachings, supreme way of crossing for those entering the journey to liberation. Moved by compassion to deeds skilled in method, prostrations to the spiritual masters who make everything clear. The great treasury of excellence. The kind master is the basis of all qualities, and proper reliance is the root of the path. By seeing this excellence and through much striving, bestow blessings to be devoted with great respect. This gentle support of freedom, obtained this one time, is most difficult to achieve. Knowing its great value gives rise to a mind seizing its essence constantly day and night. Bestow blessings to generate this continuum unceasingly. It is like a bubble in water, this constantly moving body and life. Thus remember the swift collapse of death. Beyond death, like body and shadow, white and black karmic results follow after. By gaining firm certainty in this, a mass of faults, subtle and very subtle, are abandoned, and the accomplishment of all virtuous collections completed. Bestow blessings to ever attain conscientiousness. The qualities of samsara are unfit to be trusted. The door to all suffering. Do not be content with these enjoyments. By knowing its defects, bestow blessings to develop a great aspiration for the bliss of liberation. By that pure thought, great conscientiousness is drawn forth, and mindfulness and awareness of the individual liberation, the root of the teachings. Bestow blessings to make this the essential practice. Just as I myself have fallen into samsara's ocean, all living beings as mother are also like that. By seeing the responsibility for the liberation of beings, bestow blessings to be trained in supreme bodhicitta. However, by merely generating the mind, if not acquainted with the three aspects of ethics, enlightenment will not be attained. By seeing this excellence, bestow blessings to train with strong effort in the vows of the conqueror's sons. As a fine distraction toward perverse objects, by way of proper analysis of the perfect meaning, bestow blessings to swiftly and continuously generate the path related to the union of calm abiding and special insight. Thus becoming a vessel trained in the common paths, enter the Vajrayana, supreme evolution of all vehicles. Bestow blessings to engage the easy path itself, that sacred way of crossing for fortunate beings. The base of practice for the two aspects of attainment is when guarding the pure vows of commitment is found to be genuine and certain. Bestow blessings to protect them even at risk of life. And by understanding properly the important points, which are the essence of the two stages of the Tantra classes, bestow blessings to practice according to these holy teachings, with continuous effort in the supreme four-session yoga. Like that, may the spiritual friend revealing the gentle path and friends of proper practice stand firm. Bestow blessings to quickly pacify the masses of outer and inner hindrances. In all rebirths might never be parted from perfect gurus, and the enjoyment of the glorious Dharma, by utterly completing all qualities, paths and grounds, may I quickly achieve the state of Vajradhara. I'll be back in 2 seconds. I'll just turn the offering lights on. So we start off with some meditation as usual, and we'll meditate on the emptiness of the person. But first of all, there's a light offering for June Goldstein, who passed away last week. And the light offering is that she's protected in the intermediate state and is guided, and through her merits and good karma, gains a very good rebirth with good conditions and a loving family, and meets the Dharma and continuously, step by step, traverses the path to enlightenment. So we'll just focus on that for a couple of moments. And we can establish the mind of enlightenment, the extraordinary bodhicitta motivation, by recognizing we've only got short time to practice Dharma left in this life. And therefore, we need bodhicitta. And all living beings need bodhicitta. Everyone is bound by delusion and karma, experiencing the truth of suffering again and again and again. So in order to quickly realize the natural purity of your own mind, your tathagata essence, your extraordinary potential for enlightenment, complete, perfect enlightenment, will engage in this practice of special insight to understand the nature of reality. So we can support and liberate all living beings, all fellow mother sentient beings, without exception. So we stabilize on bodhicitta for a few moments. meditate, to recognize the ultimate truth, the emptiness nature of oneself, the I, me. Because we're bound in samsara by all delusions arising from a misunderstanding of who we are. So we practice the four-part analysis to see the emptiness of inherent existence of I. So the first part is to identify the object of negation as one's own sense of an inherently existent I. And to most easily see this, think back to a time when you were threatened, or a time you were criticized and it went very deep. Or a time standing by a riverbank and a friend pretended to push you and you felt I almost fell in. At that time, the I appears very clearly. As a distinct entity. As something substantial and truly existent that we have to protect and defend at all costs. So hold clearly your view of I or me. And the second part of the meditation is to ascertain the pervasion, or to recognize if this I or me exists as it appears. It must be either one with my parts, the parts of me, or separate from the parts of me. So we recognize that's an exhaustive search for this I. You look through all your paths, or outside of your paths, and it must be in one of those two locations. So make that clear in your own mind. So the third part of the meditation to recognize the absence of oneness, that the I isn't one with the parts of me. And for simplicity, we'll look at the parts of me as just being body and mind. So the body, physical form and energy, and the mind as in all of our experience, awareness, emotions, thoughts, and so on. Very simple division of what makes us up. So I can say, is the I, this inherently existent I, is it one with, or is it the same as my body? We can think it can't be, because the I feels happy, the I thinks this, the I feels sad, and so on. It can't be the body. The body doesn't do these things. It can be very clear. The I is not my body. So then we can ask, is the I my mind? And again, it can't be my mind, because I weigh 60 kilos. I weigh 80 kilos. I am this colour. I am this shape. And so on. You pushed me. These are all characteristics of the body. So we can conclude, we can't find this I, we can't find me in my mind or in my body. So then the fourth part of meditation is the I separate from my parts? Does it exist separately? And we can see I can't be separate. Otherwise I could have a cup of tea over here. And my body is over there. The I can't be separate from my body and mind. Otherwise I could go to work and my body could stay in bed. So now we've concluded an exhaustive search. We've identified the I, how it appears. We've looked for the I in your parts, in your mind and body, and saw it wasn't there. And you've looked outside of your mind and body and saw it's not there. So now you're left with an absence or an emptiness of this inherently existent I. It's not there. So focus on this absence or emptiness of I. Recognize this is an extraordinary thing, an intriguing thing, because we've always lived with certainty. The I exists as it appeared. So finally we can ask, well, how does the I exist? I know I exist because I experience things and do things. We cannot see the I exists as a mere designation, a mere imputation, just the label I applied to the basis of designation, my body and mind. And we realize that simple truth. We free ourselves from samsara, and from bondage, to deluded impulse, and upset, and suffering. And so we can finish the meditation. So we're up to page 850, I'm sort of rushing through it a little bit now because this is the second last class. So we're looking at what are we looking at? The four-part meditation, the one we've just done, the meditation on the emptiness of persons. Geshe explains it in more detail here. And it's the four-part meditation listed on page 850. So part 1, identifying the object of negation. Part 2, ascertaining the pervasion. Then 3, ascertaining the absence of oneness. And 4, ascertaining the absence of difference. And this is a meditation that can be used to see the emptiness of anything, not just the I. It's sort of probably it's the one I think Geshe taught by far the most to when he was leading emptiness meditations. That and dependent rising, but to really get at emptiness, he led us through this on so many occasions on to see the emptiness of whether it's a year or a dollar or Australia or the temple or the I. You can use the same four-part meditation to get to that. So, Path to Enlightenment quotes here, as Shantideva says in his engaging in the Bodhisattva deeds, without identifying the imputed thing, its non-existence cannot be apprehended. So that first part, identifying the object of negation. So we have to see the emptiness of something, we have to search for it. And to search for it, we have to know what we're looking for. So if you don't know what you're looking for, it's like many of us have experienced, you wander into the kitchen and then you stop and you think, there's so many things around. You think, what did I come in here for? And you're probably looking directly at what you're looking for, whether it's a cup or a packet of Tim Tams or double chopped Tim Tams or whatever it is you might be looking for. But you can't see it, can't identify it because you don't know why you came in. Or the same in another experience we often have in supermarket car parks. Even if you know what you're looking for, it's hard to find your car. You might be on the wrong level, you might be in the wrong area. You spend half an hour trying to find your car. But imagine if you don't know you're looking for a Ford Falcon that's green and so on with a roof rack. Then you go into the supermarket car park, the shopping centre, and you don't know, you're looking for that Jeep or you're looking for that whatever, that Toyota. You're looking for that, you've got no idea what you're looking for, so you're definitely not going to find your car. You've got no indication. So that's the essential thing at the beginning. We have to have clarity about what we are trying to see the truth about. And what that is called the object of negation. And the object of negation is our ignorant misconception about how things exist. And in this section, the misconception about how I or me exists. So that's what we're trying to understand is incorrect, how we're seeing things. So we have to recognize how we are seeing ourselves. How do we see the I? How do we see the me? So if we don't identify clearly the object of negation, then we can end up negating conventional reality, the relative I, the actual me that does exist, the conventional truth, the mere I that we looked at the end of that meditation. Or if we don't clearly see what we're trying to negate, we might just negate some sort of philosophically imposed idea, rather than how our mind actually takes reality and warps it. So this isn't like a philosophy class, which is sort of fairly irrelevant to our everyday lives. The Buddha here is getting into the absolute nitty-gritty, the real sort of heart of ourselves and our lives, and in difficult emotional times like the heart of darkness is this sense of I, this sense of aggrieved I, this sense of hurt I, this inherently existent, substantial thing that we're forever grasping after things for and defending and retaliating on its behalf and so on. So it's a very personal thing, this identifying the object of negation. And according to the text, the object of negation appears as being independently existent, inherently existent, self-sufficient, existent from its own side, like it can establish itself, it can hold its own entity. Yeah, so there's lots of different descriptions to get at how do we hold this I? Like when you're really threatened, how do you hold I? Does it jump out at you as very, a very distinct thing that's sort of almost on its own? So I'll quote Papanka Rinpoche was one of the great lineage masters of this tradition. He says Holiness Trijang Rinpoche's root guru, and from Liberation of the Path of Your Hand, in the palm of your hand, he said, you must recognize the object of refutation through vivid, naked, personal mental experience brought on by the analytic process. And Geshe Acharya Thubten Loden, our spiritual head, and the author of all these texts we use, he said, with regards to recognizing the object of negation, the inherently existent I, if you don't recognize the object of negation, then for 1,000,000 years you can practice emptiness and gain no realization. So for example, if I almost fell down from the top of 100 stories, then very frightened, that time appears the inherently existent I am. Or if in a dream, in sleep, someone's going to kill you, then that sense of the I that is going to be killed. So it seems like it appears most clearly when we're absolutely, our survival's threatened. So maybe similar to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. As the lower you go down the hierarchy, the thing we really need is our survival. And when we think that's under threat, the I appears very, very clearly. So, yeah. So the path to enlightenment here then describes the two types of person, the two types of the way I or person can appear to oneself. So it talks about how a self, one's own identity, I, me, they're the same thing. We're looking at the same thing. And the first type of person is how we actually exist. That's the merely imputed self. So the merely imputed I. And we all have this. We all exist. So my name's Tim. I do this. I do that. Blah blah blah. Or this is John. This is Heather. This is Margaret. This is Mckibben. And this is what they look like, this is what they do. And even the Buddha has this merely imputed I. So the Buddha's fully realized emptiness at the deepest level, but still the Buddha has an I as a person. The Buddha had a life, he had a birth in Lumbini, and then gained meditation after 6 years in the forest, gained realised enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, and turned the 3 wheels of Dharma and so on. And that was the Buddha, the person, the Buddha. So this is the merely imputed I, or the merely labelled person, and the designation is upon their parts, and they arise in dependence on their parts and their causes and conditions. And that's the conventional existence, the relative existence. That's how we exist. So the emptiness refutes ultimate existence. It doesn't refute conventional existence. And ultimate existence is another word for an inherent existence, true existence, things existing established from their own side, without dependence on mind, without dependence on designation, existing within themselves. So seeing the emptiness refutes that. It doesn't refute conventional, so we don't need to worry our world's going to disappear if we realise emptiness. So emptiness overcomes our self-grasping ignorance rather than our wisdom perceiving a conventional reality. So the second type of person described here in the Path of Enlightenment is the inherently existent person, and that's non-existent. So it's the way that we appear to ourselves, and it's the way other people appear to us as inherently existent, as existent from their own side. So it's not, this self-grasping ignorance, this view of inherent existence, isn't an analytical view. We don't arrive at it through analysis. It's an innate, it's called innate self-grasping since beginningless time. That things jump out at us as if they're presented from their own side. They jump towards us. They appear to be objectively existent, including the I. So, So some other descriptions are existing through their own entity without being posited by thought, or appearing without depending on other phenomena first appearing. So with conventional truth, there's always some phenomena appears as the base of designation, and then you designate the object. So for example, with the eye, you might see your arm, you see the shape, colour, and you think eye, or you might have a feeling, and then eye appears. Or with regards to another person, you see their shape and colour in the distant, use visual consciousness, and based on that, you designate Margaret, or you designate Heather. Based on that's the basis of designation, the appearance of some of the parts, one or more of the parts. So, so inherently existent, that process doesn't appear to happen. The thing appears from its own side. And it appears distinct in itself, self-contained, and not dependent on causes and conditions. So I'm going to quote a fair bit from Pabonka Rinpoche. He gives some really nice descriptions in Liberation, the Palm of Your Hand, how to investigate the eye, and some very useful tips. So I'll just read a little bit here. He says, when we investigate just how the eye instinctively appears to the mind, and just how the mind grasps at the eye, we find that we feel this is not something our mind imputes upon the set of aggregates. It is established along with the set. When falsely accused, the eye arises from the centre of the heart in all its glory. This is the way the object of refutation presents itself to you. Whenever this instinctive grasping develops strongly, you must examine on the spot the way it appears to you. While the object to be refuted presents itself to you, you must examine the instinctive mode of appearance of this object with a small part of your mind. If this mind examining the mode of appearance of the eye is too strong, you will lose your grip on the part of the eye and it will become unclear. Thus it is vital to examine the eye skillfully. And he gives the example of if you're walking along a road or a path and there's someone alongside you, and just keeping an eye on them in your peripheral vision, but not you're still focusing on the path. Maybe it's a rocky path, but just keeping an eye on it. So the problem is the eye is this conception of eye is a bit of a slippery weasel because it morphs and it appears very clearly when, like I say, when we're threatened or when we're hurt, someone's insulted us, and so on. When we're really grasping after something, I really need this, or I hate you, and so on. But when we're more relaxed, it subsides, and it's not so clear to mind, this conception of inherently existent I. So, but it also morphs. Sometimes it appears to be your body. If someone puts a pin in your arm, it appears, you've hurt me. Sometimes it appears the mind, like I feel sad, I feel happy. And sometimes it appears separately from the body and mind. It's like, this is my body, this is my mind, I'm the owner, I'm the possessor. So it morphs around, it's hard to see, this grasping, inherent existence. So I'll just talk a bit more about, quote Pabonka a little bit more. He says, the eye appears as being self-contained, a distinct unit on its own. If the eye seems to be like this, you have rightly perceived the way the object to be refuted appears to you. Once recognized, it is easy to refute. This key point is a subtle one. It's a mistake sometimes to take it too far, and at other times not far enough. And he says, if you do not allow the object of refutation to present itself to you of its own accord, when you recognize only part of the object, and slavishly use the different arguments, your analysis will only be through the medium of mental images gained second-hand as something established as true. You will make no inroads at all into your grasping at true existence. You will only arrive at some theoretical form of the view. So, like I was saying, it has to be a very personal thing. We have to see in our own minds how we're grasping, how we're holding onto I or me. How does it appear? What's its status? And not just try and impute these theories, but actually see the truth within ourselves. And it might involve taking a bit of a step back, so observing the eye as it rears its head. And of course that means not responding in our usual ways when we get upset. If someone makes us angry, we say that's an ideal opportunity rather than just responding, the eye rearing its head and responding. So again, I'll quote again for Pabonka, because I reckon this is really useful instruction. He says, if you are able to identify the object of refutation correctly, Arguments such as one of the logical statements concerning interdependent origination will crumble the mountain of your grasping of true existence. The criteria of having identified the object correctly is that you realize emptiness without any difficulty. Jankye Rilpe Dorje said, "You do not have to search for it. The thing, O seeker, is within you." In other words, you do not have to look far afield to find emptiness. It abides together with you, the seeker. Thus, meditate for months or years continuously on the identification of the object to be refuted. So, we can see it's we really need to make use of our life experience to identify this object. This is this is really the target of the entire path. Our grasping at I and grasping at self is the cause of every moment of suffering we've ever had, and every time we've caused problems for others. It's the root of it, and we can't refute it according to Pabonka unless we really get a good understanding of how that's appearing. So we've got to develop that introspection. So a golden opportunity is in Australia when someone calls you shit for brains. It's a wonderful thing. They're our best friend, people who call us shit for brains when we're feeling low and vulnerable and the I really feels bad about it. Then from Bodhisattva view, this is a fantastic opportunity. Well, for Donald Trump being called a loser, that's a marvellous opportunity right there and then to not deny you've lost the election and go to huge lengths to deny it, but to identify the I that doesn't like being called loser. And the same when we're called loser or whatever. So Geshe in Path to Enlightenment, to emphasise the importance of this, I'll just try and find the quote. He says, seeing the emptiness of such a substantially and independently existent I, and seeing the conventional mode of existence of the I, is what frees you from psychic existence forever. So this really is, it should be a relatively easy exercise. We're just looking at our own mind, very personal, it's our own mind, no one can look for us, and we're looking to see our own reality of emptiness, which again is an integral part of us. So it shouldn't be that, it's easy to think, emptiness, I'm never going to understand emptiness, it's too I'll stick with the other parts of the path. But we should have confidence, this is just who we are. And what we've got to overcome is what our mind is continuously doing. Very simple mistake. So it's definitely a doable thing for all of us, and it's incredibly important part of the path. It's the linchpin of samsara. So the path to enlightenment then talks about how it's the root of psychic existence, this self-grasping ignorance. It's like the heart of darkness. It's the source of all our competition, all our jealousy, all our grasping, all our upset, all our worry. They're all coming from this sense of I that doesn't exist, a fantasy, a figment of our own imaginations. And from those we generate negative karma, and from that we're stuck within samsara endlessly, suffering, out of control, lower rebirths, animal rebirths where we have no choice, and lower realm rebirths, hungry ghost rebirths, hell realm rebirths, or even God realm rebirths with little insight. So, So this we're still on this this section, identifying the object of negation. And according to Prasangika, one way of looking at it, it appears that the mind and body and the I are sort of fused or mixed, like milk and water. So the relationship, as I said before, the relationship between our mind and body and the I isn't coherent. The way it appears to us through our innate grasping isn't logical. It doesn't make sense. And it's only through analysis we can see that. And the reason it doesn't make sense is because sometimes the I appears sort of within our body, like in our heart or in our forehead or something. The I appears to be there. Sometimes it appears if someone pushes your arm, you pushed me. Sometimes it's the I is my feelings. I feel terrible, I feel wonderful. Sometimes the I appears to be behind the mind and body. This is my mind and body, I'm in control, I'm the possessor, I'm the owner, my mind, my body. Sometimes the I seems the same as when we were a baby, so our minds change completely, our bodies change completely, but we still say that's the same I, same me. So the appearance of I isn't coherent, it doesn't make sense, it's not logical. And that's what we have to see in this analysis. And according to consequence school, it sometimes appears like the I is the head salesman of a team of salespeople. So it seems to be sort of the same thing, but it's a bit different. It is very ill-defined. Yeah. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama, he said to test whether you've refuted inherent existence or something coarser, the analysis should easily transfer to anything else. So if you've identified the inherent existent I, and you've practiced emptiness, you should be able to identify the inherently existent temple, inherently existent 2020, and the same analysis apply and easily get at emptiness. So it's the same state. So from that we should just understand how essential it is to not skip this step, that this is the key step in our understanding of reality. And as aspiring bodhisattvas, it's the key step in gaining liberation and being able to help others. So we have to see the object of negation. And as we study emptiness, it's said we gain more of an understanding of the conventional I, the way we do it, the mere I, based on designation on mind and body. And from that, the view of inherent existence starts to look more clunky or slightly more ridiculous. And we start to see ourselves a bit more with a vision like someone who realised they're dreaming. And so they're no longer caught up in the dream. Or someone who sort of realises it's like a hologram and you're starting to see it's not as substantial as it appears. So that's the first part, identifying the object of negation. Then the second part is ascertaining the pervasion. This is quite a simple logical step, but if we're searching, we have to genuinely search for this thing and not just say, yes, the Buddha said we're empty, so we're empty. We have to give all our heart and mind into the search for this I, the me, that appears. And so the ascertaining the pervasion, Surakas, if we're searching, we have to know everywhere to look. Otherwise we won't be convinced we've searched everywhere. We won't gain conviction of emptiness. Because we might, in the back of our mind, we think, well, I didn't actually look there. I don't know if I looked everywhere. So if we've got a 2-room house and we think there's a thief there, if we look in one room and we look in the other, then we know it's exhausted and we can feel confident there's no thief in that house. And the same way with Ascertain the Pervasion, Geshe describes here that there's 4 ways you can, when you look for an inherently existent thing, there's 4 ways it could exist. Or I think he says if there's two inherently existent things, their relationship, there's 4 ways. So inherently separate, which means they're unrelated. If they're self-existent, they're unrelated. Inherently one, which means they're the same thing. So that inherently one doesn't mean they're just the same entity. It means they're the same thing. So same entity, for example, a table and its colour is the same entity. They exist at the same time, they disappear at the same time, but they're different things. But they're same entity. But in this analysis, if we're looking for things, they're either separate. If you're looking for the I, it's either separate from my mind and body out here, over here, or it's the same thing as my mind and body, or my mind or my body. So logically that makes sense. You've looked everywhere. It's either here or it's somewhere other than here. So we have to have conviction that is exhaustive, otherwise we won't get this sense of emptiness, this unfindability of I. With those 4 examples, 4 possibilities Geshe gives, it says it's either one or separate, or it's both one and separate, or neither one and separate, but the last 2 are absurd. So, what would be a good example? If you've got an apple and an orange, they're either both one or they're separate. You can't say they're both one and separate. So obviously they're not one. An apple is different from an orange. So in that case they're separate. You can't say they're both one and separate. It doesn't make any sense. And you can't say they're neither one or separate. That doesn't make any sense either. So it's logically exhaustive. So it seems complicated, but basically the analysis, I just want to see what time we get to. Basically we can see it's logical. If I'm looking for this I, it's either one, the same thing as my parts, or separate from them. And that's exhaustive. So then Geshe, here it gets a little bit, I'll very quickly go through these 10 possibilities, because almost always in meditation, Geshe didn't go through these. So you don't need to go through these to get to emptiness. But this is a more extensive analysis. So it's saying to refute the I is not one with the parts, and in this case the parts are described as the 5 aggregates. That's one way you can one way you can break up a person is into the 5 aggregates of form, feeling, discrimination, consciousness, and compositional factors. So personally, I find that hard to feel like it's exhaustive, because we didn't grow up with this sense that a person is the 5 aggregates. And compositional factors is a bit of a catch-all for things like karma and life, that anything that doesn't fit into the mind and body. So I find 5 aggregates myself a little bit hard to feel you've searched everywhere. But we'll quickly go through the 5 aggregates. So the first point Geshe makes is if the I is one with the five aggregates, there's five aggregates, so there'd be five persons. The five aggregates are distinct, they're persons. So that's a bit ridiculous. The second, there'd only be there's only one I, so there could only be one aggregate. The third point, there's no purpose for the term I, as it's a synonym for the five aggregates. And the fourth point, there's no agent or subject to experience the five aggregates. So when we say I feel good, or I weigh 70 kilos, the I is separate, is the agent or subject that experiences the aggregates, and is the owner of the mind and body, or the five aggregates. The fifth point here is if the body was cremated, then the I would be destroyed, because the I is the same as the aggregate of form. The sixth point, the five aggregates would be reborn together, which according to the Buddha, when we die, obviously our body rots. So we're separated from our form aggregate. 7th point, the self couldn't reincarnate as it would be dead, because the body dies and rots, and if it's one, indistinguishable with the I. The 8th point is the formless realms will be impossible, because the five aggregates includes form. The I couldn't go to the formless realms. 9th point, the I would be form. And the 10th point, the mind, not the I, would be hungry and thirsty and so on. So we can, if you're sort of getting more serious with your meditations on emptiness, you can go through this extensive meditation. But like I say, almost, I can't remember Geshe going through this hardly at all, whereas hundreds, if not thousands of times, he'd go simply through, look for the I or the object within the parts and separate from the parts. And that is enough for you to realise emptiness. So there's a nice quote there from Nagarjuna. This is another division of, so you can divide a person into body and mind, you can divide them into five aggregates, you can divide them into the six elements. So Nagarjuna says the person is not the earth, not water, not fire, not wind, not space, not consciousness, and not all of them. What person is there other than these? Because a person is a composite of six elements, it is not an ultimate. Likewise, the elements are not ultimates, because each is a composite. So, have I got time? Yeah. I'll quickly quote Geshe on this point. He quoted on this verse, one of his teachings. He said, every human being has six elements. So, the earth, fire, water, wind, space, and consciousness. What is earth element? Our body. What is water? For example, urine and blood. What is the fire element? From our crown chakra to feet, the heat. What is space? Some parts inside the body is empty space. And you have consciousness. So he said, the ordinary appearance, a person is inherently existent person. But a person is not inherently existent. They are dependent arising, dependent to the six elements. Without the air element, a person is not possible. And he went through each element. Without water element, a person is not possible. And then he said, Nagarjuna's Ratnamala said, for ordinary people, a person appears inherently existent, truly existent, independently existent. But a person is never independently existing, as they're composed of 6 elements. Therefore, they're not truly existing. A person is not wind, not fire, etc. And a person is not a composite of all 6 elements. What other person you cannot find? The elements themselves are composed of 6 elements. The person is dependent to the 5 aggregates, and so they're not truly existent, as they're a dependent arising. True existence and dependent arising are mutually exclusive. So some people do identify strongly with, for example, the form of form, like a bodybuilder is spending forever in front of the mirror, coating themselves with baby oil, and there's a very strong sense of I. It's either, call it bigism, or in food eating disorders like bulimia, a very strong identity with forms. Those forms either going to be very small or very big, and that's I. And that strong identity with the form. So Nagarjuna explains we're not any of those parts. Same as we're not mind and body, you can't find the I. You've got to really look within all those elements, or really look within body and mind, or really look within the 5 aggregates. And when we can't find. And those things are actually the base of imputation. So they're the basis from which the I appears and the I is established. It's labelled or imputed or designated in dependence on seeing the form or a feeling or a sound. So the 4th part is ascertaining. So we should get to this point where we feel the I is not oneness with the parts. Which we really looked, we cannot find it there. It's absent. And then the 4th part, we see the absence of difference or separation from the parts. So is me separate from my mind and body? So can I be in London while my mind and body is here in Melbourne? And we can see that's ridiculous. Can I go and have a cup of tea when my mind and body is over here without any tea? And we can see absolutely not. The I can't be separate from the body and mind. So at that point, we gain a conviction. It dawns on us, with that simple analysis, it dawns on us, the I is not there. And it should appear as a big shock. You're focusing on this absence at this point. You've looked everywhere. You're focusing on the absence. And this sort of linchpin of your life. And everything you've assumed is not being correct. There's this absence of inherently existent I, or truly existent I, the substantial me. So at that point we realise emptiness, or this space-like absence. But it's not a mere vacuity, it's a specific absence of inherent existence. And we'll only understand that if we've identified the object of negation clearly. How the I appears as being this discrete entity that exists sort of almost on its own. Those are the parts. So the simple meditation is just looking within mind and body. Identify identify the object of negation, see how the ego appears, the I appears, see it must be either within my mind and body, if it exists the way it appears, it must be there. And look inside, look in the mind, can that be I? No, because I weigh 80 kilos and I look like this. Can it be the mind? Can it be the body? No, because I has thoughts, I has feelings. Then it's not there. And at that point we see this absence. And we have a confidence we can know this, because this is just who we are. This is our reality. It's a very personal thing. It's not a remote philosophical thing. It's who we are. And so we should be able to just look and see this. So if we want to go into a more complicated analysis, we can then start examining why is the composite of the parts not the I. So why is the combination or the collection or composite of mind and body, or composite of 5 aggregates, or composite of the 6 elements, why is that not I? But we don't have to do that point, because even with a simple looking with it, because the parts are so distinct, we can actually get to the emptiness of I without that. But if we're looking at the composite, some of the reasons given that the composite of mind and body is not this inherent existent I, is that first of all the composite is the base of imputation. So the base of imputation can never be the imputed thing. So if we see the colour and shape of the temple, we impute temple. That shape and colour is the base. The parts of the temple are the base from which the temple is established. And the mind and body is the base. Something appears to your mind or body, some part of you, and that's the base of designation I. Another reason composite can't be this discrete entity I is because the composite, again, is unfindable. If you look for this thing, composite or collection, you can't find it. You look in the mind, look in the body. This composite is just a concept. It's not unfindable as a distinct thing. And so there are or the composite should also be. If we're saying that I is the same as the composite or the collection of mind and body, then it should have exactly the same qualities and be affected exactly the same. So if you push someone, if someone pushes you, you say you pushed me, but you can't say you pushed my mind body. You can't push the mind. You can only push the body. So again, the I is just a designation and be a label. So anyway, that's that 4-part analysis, and like I say, Geshe gave this. It's a very simple analysis, very simple 4 parts, and but it sounds like the linchpin is really identifying this object of negation. How does I appear? And so we have to go and get someone to shout at us and poke us with a stick. And we have to make use of how the I appears when we're embarrassed, when we're humiliated, when we criticise. So, and not just feel we have to defend this vulnerable, suffering I. If we're on the path to enlightenment, if we're really, if we are aspiring bodhisattvas, then we've got to do better than certainly than I personally do. Still getting easily upset and not looking within at how the I is appearing. So it's the the key we need to do. Okay, so next week is the last part of Enlightenment class. We'll be looking at dependent arising, the other main way to get at emptiness. And there's sort of the two, I think they were the two key ways, along with the 7 examples that Geshe used again and again and again and again and again to try to get us to think about emptiness. And I think it's one of those subjects easy to drift away from rather than think about. But we need to think about it. Okay, so we'll do the final prayer of the graduated path. Just trying to. So maybe we've got time to do in Tibetan. Teni vindu beni sonini, tatayam pavadaji zapadi, nami marigi dong duvanam, nandrida vidvapuda deji, Dhamma sampi sirvakuntuya, Jampeyanti seviti zuni, Temperimpadun zanantijo, Nyene drupidyanani jejo, Randi jiji tope landini, Shutazi vidamrita titi, Pravi pasatini, Yadritin payan rinzinyaji, Temparin chantoti matyabam, Tapyanya patyupechadeni, Ninde cempo nirvatyupali, Kante te sevati vajo, Seche dyavi vichachindini, Netratanchu nadirimpecha, Tadonati ilakateji, Dyavizi paridukyadeji, Nanzang drupatim pyantratiji, Dyatyetsati midan mimiko, Zeratantu dyavinapadi, Nantanantavanadyeji, Kamzita patanachuchuchu, Sujitra pazopadiyitsi, Tutanati tatutotiji, Trachitya chakatyadeji. By the two collections vast as space, amassed with effort for a long time, may I become a chief of conquerors, a guide for all beings whose mind's eye is blinded by ignorance. Also in all lives who are not yet come to that, may Manjushri favour me with his compassion, finding the supreme path, complete with all stages of the teachings. May I please the conquerors by practicing well, by my precise understanding of the essential points of the path, with skillful means drawn along by strong compassion, and while dispelling the mental darkness of beings, may I uphold the conqueror's teaching for a long time, where the supreme precious teaching has not spread, also where it has spread but become degenerate, with a mind deeply moved by great compassion, May I make clear this treasure of benefit and bliss. The stages of the path, excellently established by the marvellous deeds of the conquerors and their sons, give glory to the minds of those aspiring for liberation. May the conquerors' deeds be long preserved. May all humans and non-humans who remove the obstructions and establish conditions favourable to cultivating the excellent path never be parted for all their lifetimes from the purest of paths which the Buddhas have praised. When someone makes effort to practice properly the 10 points of conduct of the Supreme Vehicle, may he always be assisted by the mighty protectors, and may oceans of good fortune spread out, reaching all. Ditagi pinanta divaya, tuzante shikshitantiti, sepamamamamudrupada, nanta hutancho zipiduru, tiyitu bezimatudu, te chato bodhicitta vidaji, ne chato tsengyangangawaka, rini nandito patajijo. Whatever right virtues we have thus created, we dedicate as causes, enabling us to uphold the holy Dharma of Scripture and realization, and to fulfill without exception the prayers and deeds of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 3 times. By the power of this merit, in all our lives, may we never be parted from the 4 wheels of the Mahayana, and may we complete the journey on the paths of renunciation, bodhicitta, pure view, and the 2 stages. By this virtue, may all beings complete the collections of wisdom and merit, and attain the 2 holy bodies arisen from wisdom and merit. Precious superior mind of enlightenment be generated in those who have not yet generated it, and not decrease in those who have developed it, but increase continuously. Thank you, everyone, and thanks also to everyone who had a lot of people come out yesterday and help with cleaning up the garden and doing lots of weeding and pruning and tidying up. So, thank you. And there'll probably be an announcement go out, but I think as well as live streaming, there'll be people will be able to come to the temple next week, but hopefully a notice will come out soon. So don't think there's any questions. Right?
I'm waiting for the question.
Oh, okay. We'll just wait a couple of minutes if there's any questions.
Questions?
Okay, no questions? Thanks, Wayne. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Manny.